Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us again for this webinar. We are excited to go through Coalition Manager and maybe talk through some of the things that we're not utilizing as much. So I will go ahead and let Maria and Kathy introduce themselves as well. My name is Sierra, she, her, my pronouns, and I am the Training and Technical Assistance Manager with CICASA.
And I'm Kathy Holland. I'm the Administration and Development Manager. I generally pay the bills and do some fundraising and do membership. So I deal with Coalition Manager on the front end. And in my personal life, I live in Littleton, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. I have 2 grown kids, and during the pandemic, I took up bird watching, which is kind of fun, and I've kept it up. I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I don't have the little hat or the jacket yet, and I'm a big hockey fan, so I'm very excited that the Stanley Cup was finally brought back to Colorado.
Before I introduce myself, Sarah, do you want to share a little bit more about you and your hobbies?
Yes, I totally forgot to do that. Thank you, Maria. So again, Sierra, Training and Technical Assistance Manager with CICASA, she, her. And yeah, so I'm trying to find my hobbies. I am newer to Colorado, so I'm just trying to enjoy the outdoors as much as I can. I do enjoy binging some really crappy reality TV. You know, some of our work can be very heavy, so I thoroughly enjoy a lot of different shows. Other than that, I just like to hang out with friends, try different places, try different restaurants. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Hello, everyone. My name is Maria Mendez, she, her pronouns. I am the Strengthening Sexual Assault Services Project Director, which is just really a long name to say I'll be working on a grant we have with DVP to strengthen sexual assault services. We're very descriptive here at CICASA about what we do. My hobbies are definitely binge watching too, like all sorts of things. It probably also has to do with my wild dreams because I have like movies playing in my head in my dreams about like zombies and running and things happening because my partner makes us watch all of those things. I like to crochet. I'm trying to get into like crocheting like animals. We'll see how that goes. I haven't done that. I've usually just done rectangles, scarves, blankets, the like. So it'll be fun to try to see if I can go into the animal making. I also like to run. I'm not running right now, but I like it when I'm in shape. Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And we usually do this activity when we do our anti-oppression session to talk about like biases and assumptions that we make. But for this one, we wanted to do it because there's so many different personalities, right? Our pets, they say our pets become us and we become our pets, right? And so like the different personalities and things like that, which is very similar to working with technology, right? We have different personalities that make up how we interact with technology. Sometimes some of us might be more organized and so like to have a technology like Coalition Manager that will help keep us organized. Other ones of us are probably maybe a little bit more scattered and need something like Coalition Manager to keep everything together. And so we just kind of wanted to start there as, again, kind of a little fun thing in the midst of a very difficult time to talk about something that's not always that fun, right? Learning a new program isn't always that fun. So we'll go ahead and get started with Coalition Manager. I'll turn it over to Kathy.
Okay, the ever nagging question, I'm sure, that keeps you up at night and lets Maria have those horrible dreams is, what is Coalition Manager? And Coalition Manager is CICASA's database for registration, for training, for resources, and for tracking your professional development. And it's a way that you can track your own professional development or that you can track your staff's professional development. And we're going to do a poll right now, and it probably doesn't apply to many people on this webinar, except perhaps Laura. But other than hearing from me about renewing your membership at the end of the year, how many of you have ever used it for anything other than renewing your membership? So if we can do that poll.
All right, the poll has been launched and we're getting answers in. So far, 5 out of 5 people have said no, they have not used Coalition Manage for anything other than renewing their membership. So we have all the answers in, and it's totally no.
Well, and that's not surprising to me at all. And there are so many things that Coalition Manager can actually do that's another reason we wanted to do this webinar, just to tell you a little bit about what it has to offer. It really is a robust database. It certainly helps us, but it can also be a great tool for you as well, that you can put a lot of information in there. So the history of Coalition Manager is why we got it. So a lot of statewide coalitions throughout the nation were looking for something that would help with the grant reports. And coalition grant reports differ from those that are required of direct service providers. And it's hard to report system level advocacy because we start at policy, and then we go to community, and then organizational, and then interpersonal, and then we finally drill down to the individual, which is obviously the most important part. But we have to report those figures to our grantors, and there are so many layers. So coalitions started looking for something to help gather that data and to make grant reporting a little easier and a little more concise. So coalitions needed a way to report those grant deliverables, and those grant deliverables are defined by the grantors. And if any of you have ever applied for a grant, you know that they give you 1,400 characters to tell you everything that you are going to do with that grant, but then they want huge amount of data back to them to tell them everything you've done with it. And you need to tell them how you've used their money, how you have tracked that. And coalitions across the nation needed something to help them track the data. So they needed a method to track the training. They needed a system to record the technical assistance that, again, they defined, and a database to capture the necessary information. And so those grant reports required a lot of detail. So Maria's going to tell you about how we got here.
Yeah. So based on all of that, the Missouri Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence was the first to kind of move towards something like this, that they were like, hey, this is all the things we need. Let's make something out of it. For, a lot of direct service agencies, y'all might use something like Salesforce or something different in order to track all of that information. And there wasn't anything specific to coalitions. So then they worked with a tech company to develop Coalition Manager 1.0. There have been several updates since then. I think it's been around for like 10 plus years now, right, Kathy?
Yeah, I think it's probably 2016 or so.
Yeah, so it's been around for a bit, and they've been making updates depending on what the coalitions are seeing and needing. One of the things, it's not just for coalitions, right? So it does help us with all the things that Kathy talked about, but it also has some really cool tools to help y'all. One of the main things Kathy mentioned was the training, right? Which is why we were like, we're excited to get this so that we could move our online learning center to this platform. to something that'll be easier for you all to access. So we adopted Coalition Manager at the end of 2020, and then we rolled it out with the 2021 membership renewal, which is why that question. I'm mostly anybody who is renewing memberships will have already used Coalition Manager, but hardly for anything else, right? So I saw a couple of you say in there like, I didn't even know. I didn't even know what this thing was. So we're here to help with that piece. Sierra?
Yeah, so I think that it's really important, and we're gonna talk through some of these things, but what else does Coalition Manager offer to all of you, right? As Maria and Kathy were talking, yeah, like if you haven't renewed your membership through Coalition Manager, maybe there's not much reason for you to be in there. And so that's why we wanna kind of talk about a lot of these things on this slide here. So these are some of the additional features that we are going to discuss and kind of show you a little bit today. So the first one is member and service directory. So, understanding that, each agency can populate Coalition Manager with their information. We'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like currently. A database overall. And really a database for a lot of these things that Maria and Kathy are going to walk us through. A learning management system. So as Maria was sharing, yeah, our online learning center, more to come on that as well. But some of you might be familiar with our sexual assault training, right? Which is partially housed within Coalition Manager. Surveys and form software. We love a good evaluation and a good survey. You all know that of us by now, I'm sure. And that is a way for us to keep track of those things, right? As Kathy and Maria were talking about grants and funds and the things that we need to collect, we want to continue to gather feedback. Yes, and we do listen and adjust based on your feedback. Thank you, Maria, which is why it's very important for us to have a platform that allows us to do that. And then a resource library, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. But again, these are some other features that we think are probably being underutilized. And we want to bring attention to that because we want you all to be able to utilize Coalition Manager as a tool.
Okay, so CICASA's Coalition Manager can be your one-stop shop. You can, if in an ideal world, every member of CICASA will fill out all of the information that's asked of it. And you will have your program languages, your program services, it'll be all filled out. But public directory is kind of a misnomer because it will only be an internal directory that will be available for the members of CICASA. It won't be statewide. We do want to show you something that CICASA has been very involved in, which is the You Have the Right campaign. And you'll see this on your screen. This is a very robust website, and it has an interactive map that you can find most anything you want on here, that you can click on the map. You can find support services, you can find hospitals, you can find information in the Denver area, you can find SANE services. You can click on it, it can tell you whatever is available in that area. The website for this is You Have the Right, YTHR, or youhavetheright.org support services, but we'll put that in the chat box. But you can search by location, you can find health centers, you can find information for friends and family, for survivors. And if you want to add your agency to this list, if it's not listed, you can go to For Professionals, and then there's a drop down and request for support service listings. So this is a wonderful website that we've been involved in. And I suggest that you bookmark that you have it available. And that's very important. But again, that's outside of Coalition Manager. That's something totally separate, but That's a great website. So back to Coalition Manager. So if we have that directory available, it would be an internal directory. You can also use CICASA's Coalition Manager to find online trainings, register for CICASA events. You can keep track of your own professional development, or you can keep track of your staff's professional development. You can also download CICASA materials and resources. So those will be talked about, all of this information will be talked about a little bit later in this webinar. So we're going to talk a bit about becoming a member. A lot of you are already members, but we're going to start from scratch a little bit here. So if you are not a member, you would go to the CICASA website, and here is that website, and we'll put that in the chat box as well. And so you would go to becoming a member, join CICASA today, and click on that, apply now, and then you would end up at, you would be in the next page where you would fill in your information. Apply now. Then you fill in all of your contact information. And then if you go back to the PowerPoint, Maria, there you go, and then go to the next one. Yeah, and then go to the next slide. And then you will get a confirmation from Coalition Manager. CICASA approves your application, and then Coalition Manager will send you an email asking you to approve your email. But check your spam or your junk file, because Coalition Manager is notorious for getting stuck in junk mail or spam. And we tried to work with them on that, and it's an ongoing problem that we can't get that straightened out. And to this day, I've had trouble finding emails from Coalition Manager that I've been waiting for. So always check that from here on out, that to make sure that email from them isn't in your junk file. So if you go to the next one, Maria. So when you're ready to check into CICASA login page, you're a member, you're ready to go, make sure you're at the CICASA Coalition Manager login page, because every state law coalition that is part of Coalition Manager will have its own unique login page, as does Violence Free Colorado and a number of child advocacy centers. They have their own login page. Make sure you're on CICASA's. And this is the website, and that's going to be in the chat as well. Make sure you're at the right page, and you'll see the CICASA logo. So as long as you see that, then you're there. You'll log in with your email and your password, and then you're ready to go. So right now, I'm going to go to Coalition Manager, and I'll show you at a website or a coalition that is already a member, that is already a member of CICASA, and that they are already in. I'm going to share my screen, and
as you're hopping into this, Kathy, I put it in the chat, but I just wanted to remind everyone that I know we're moving through different websites and the different platforms, but the slides will be shared to everyone, and it has the screenshots of all of these things so you can revisit. But again, if you have any questions as we move through here, feel free to ask them in the chat.
Okay, so this is the Coalition Manager website. So you have become a member of CCASA Coalition Manager, and now you're going to log in again. So here we are. Welcome to CCASA. You see the CCASA logo. You're in Coalition Manager. Use your email, enter your password. If you want to have it remembered, then you don't have to worry about it next time. Go ahead and check that. If you forgot your password, click on that and you should get an immediate response to reset it. But again, check that spam or email and log in. And here we are. So you're at your page in Coalition Manager. And there you are, the best advocate agency. You see upcoming trainings, the annual campus meeting, another webinar that's coming up. So you come over here and you see the best advocate agency, and you really don't like that avatar. So you want to update your image. You have your own logo. You're going to select a file. You like your logo. So you're going to put your logo in there. You're going to update it. Oh, and there's your logo in there. And then after you do that, you're going to come over to Contact Manager. Let's go to Details. And here's your basic information. I'm going to edit the basic information. And this is a member agency. It's the best advocate agency. The contact is generally always the executive director, but we're going to edit a little bit. Bella Brennan is the executive director. We're going to enter her pronouns. And yeah, we're going to add her to the mailing list. She's the executive director, occupation, community-based SA and DV advocate. We're going to save that. And contact address. This is really important. So in order to add a contact address, we're going to go in here, select an address type. Let's add a physical address. Best Advocate Agency. It's going to be 1234 Main Street in Yuma, Colorado, the United States. Receiving paper mailing, no, and we're not going to make this a public address because it's their shelter address, and we don't really want that out at all. So, and we don't want it receiving a mailing address because it's a shelter address. And even though this is internal, internal to only coalition members, we really don't want that out there. So we're going to save that. And then we're going to add another address. And this is going to be their mailing address. The mailing label is going to be the Best Advocate Agency, but this is going to be their post office box. And that's also in Yuma. Is it receiving paper mailing? Yeah. Is it a public address? Yeah, because that's public. That's open for anybody. And we're going to save that. And then we have another address because they have a satellite office. And it's in Holyoke, Colorado. And this would be up to your discretion if you want that out there. If it's a shelter, probably not. If it's where staff is, then maybe you do want it, but that would be totally up to you whether you want that public or not. I'll make it public for our purposes today. So anyway, you've got your physical address, you've got your satellite office, and your mailing address in there. And then for counties, you want to put in all the counties that this organization serves. This is a county up in Northeast Colorado, so they serve a lot of counties. They serve Kit Carson and Logan and Morgan County. So they have a Phillips County. So they have a bunch of counties that they're serving. So you would enter every county, not just the county that you're located in, but every county that you provide services to. So you save those. And then we come on down and you add phone numbers. And this is another place where you're going to decide whether they're public or not. So let's add an office number. And is it public? Yeah, your office number, that's probably public. We're going to save that. And then we want to add another number. And this is going to be a hotline. Is this public? Sure, your hotline number is going to be public. And a cell number. A description, this might be Bella's cell number. So you may not, is it public? Maybe not. Maybe you don't want Bella's number public, or maybe you do since it's internal. You might want her number public for other EDs, but that too is up to your discretion. So we're going to save that. And you can add other phone numbers as well. You can see from the drop down that there you could add a TTY or a satellite outreach office. You can add if you have other office numbers there. So you can add any number of office phone numbers there. And that's gonna, yeah, let me go back to detail here. So program languages. This is where you would add any kind of interpretation services your agency would offer. If you have someone who is qualified to interpret Burmese or Chinese or French, don't put someone out there whose grandma can speak French so they can interpret a couple of phrases. That's not fair to the survivor. That's not fair to that staff member. But if you have someone who can legitimately interpret French or whatever particular language you have on staff, list them there. So then you would save that. Program services, this too is very important. You have a 24-hour support line. Do you have individual counseling, food bank, case management? There are others here. So whatever program services you have, if you would put those in that area.
Quick question. Oh, thank
Yes.
you, Maria. You answered it in the chat. I just wanted to share with you, Kathy. So only on staff, not accommodations that the org is willing to provide. And is just asking that question.
Excuse me, would you repeat the question?
Yeah, so only on staff, not accommodations that the organization is willing to provide.
For the languages.
Over the languages.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
that,
spread languages.
yeah, that services that they are willing to provide. That if you have someone who is able to interpret for a survivor who comes in. If you have someone that you can call on to come in and interpret, if that service is available, but not just someone who's on staff who can possibly interpret a couple of phrases. You don't want to put that person out there, that staff member, in that position. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they said thank you.
Now we're at program types. This is important for us for our reporting purposes. We've already established that the Best Advocate Agency is a sex assault domestic violence program. So we would check dual sex assault domestic violence program, but you can see that this drop down has a number of different options. So you have a sex assault program, but it also might be a Sane Safe program. We have members that are a child advocacy center or a tribal victim service agency. An other victim service provider might be Wings, that is located in Denver, that provides victim services to adult survivors of childhood incest. Other organizational members would be district attorney's offices. So this is where you would put your program types. Save that. Sometimes it's very slow. And then legislators, this is something we're really not going to worry about until after the first of the year, because the entire House of Representatives is up for re-election and about half of the state Senate. This is going to be a helpful tool because, say you're in Representative Woodrow's district and he has legislation that's important to you, we may do an outreach to you on that, and knowing that you are in his district is helpful to us. It also would be helpful to you to know which legislative district you're in. This is going to be something that I'll probably put in here for you after the election, and then it'll be populated that way. So anyway, that's a long way of saying don't worry about this section. And back to detail. Then we have social media. Put your social media in there. That you can put your victims up. Add your website, add your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, your LinkedIn. And is it public? Well, probably, since it's social media, you probably want that to be public. And save it. And we're going to jump over staff for just a second here. And this contact additional information, you may wonder why we want to know that, but this too is important for us. That why this information is important to us because we want to know if you're a nonprofit. We want to know your annual budget amount because sometimes we are applying for grants. That we want to know if you are a big agency, do you have the capacity to enter into this type of grant? It may only be for nonprofits. It also auto-populates your membership fee. We like to know what year your organization was incorporated. We want to know if our members have been around for 10 years, for 5 years, for 30 years. We're coming up on our 40th anniversary. So that's big, that's a milestone. How many directors are on your board? How many staff members do you have? That also helps us know what kind of capacity do you have. If you're a small agency, we are oftentimes applying for grants that we need a small agency in Northeast Colorado, Southwest, Southeast. How many volunteers are on your program? A VOCA grant, as many of you know, still requires that there be volunteers. But another big part of this is that we need to get a picture of who our members are. We would like to see, do we have a lot of big members? Do we have a lot of little members? Do we have members that have been in existence for a long time? Do we have members who have just organized in the last couple of years? Do we have a lot of nonprofits? Do we have a lot of district attorneys' offices? So this gives us a snapshot of who our members are, where we need to do some outreach. So this additional information is really important to us. Give us your mission statement. Let us know who you are, what you're all about, what your mission statement is. And this information does not go in the public directory. This would not be available for any of the other members. This is strictly for CICASA. And down here, payment reminder email, already put it in, but there are other people who might need to know the information that your renewal is coming due, like your accountant, your board president. At the end of the year, when that payment is up for your renewal, they might need to know that as well. It'll automatically go to the executive director, but whoever else needs to know that that payment is coming up. So save that there. And now I'm going to hop back up to staff. So it's really easy to add staff. You can add one staff very easily. We'll add Sally Jones. She is, let's call her the shelter manager. And she is also advocate. Sally at the Best Org. And add her to the mailing list, probably, since she's the shelter manager. Administrator, probably not for a shelter manager. Administrators would be for the executive director, for perhaps the office manager or the HR or somebody who can assign trainings to others. But Sally would just be assigning trainings to herself. So she would not be an administrator. And display info and directory, again, she's a shelter manager, probably would. Hire date, if you have your own HR department, so you probably don't need this, but it might be helpful for the ED or the office manager if you're keeping track of any trainings that Sally's required to do. If, say, Sally has 90 days to complete some trainings and she was hired June 1, it's easier to have this information right here rather than going back to, so when was Sally hired? Was it June 1 or May 1? So you've got it right here. This information you don't need to worry about. That's taken care of by what level she's at, how she signed up. You can add her phone number just like we did when adding phone numbers. You can put her cell, office, and then you'd save it. Oh, and it's going to make me do this. Okay, we're going to save it to get out of here. And then another trick that you can do here is to add a lot of staff at once. You can import staff, like clicking on, I probably went too fast on that, but you can import staff, download a template, and save it. And it's just an Excel file. And this is what it's going to look like if it opens. but I've got one already filled out. So you'll come over here to select files. And I'm going to pull up the one that I've already filled out. Select the address location listed. Of course, I want it to go to the Best Advocacy Agency. This is probably already listed member organization because that's what you're uploading it to. And then import. Please wait. Waiting. It's there. Then go back to staff. And then all those staff members that were on that list are all there. And you didn't have to enter them one by one.
Kathy, before you hop into the next part, we did have a question in the chat.
Okay.
If the details don't have a drop down or a way to edit, does that mean that someone else holds the main account access or info holder account for my organization?
That would be on your particular, if you are going in, like say you are Sally Jones, one of the staff members, or you're Sally Jones, you would be logging in separately. Because if this is Bella's account and she's the executive director, so she can make any changes she wants, and she can sign Sally or Jane or Sandy or any of these people up for trainings, and she can make changes to any of these. But when Sally logs in, Sally's going to sign in under this email with her own password, and she'll be able to make changes to her own. She'll be able to change her phone number, anything, sign up for her own trainings, but Sally won't be able to make changes to Ruth's email or details at all. She won't be able to sign Ruth up. But say Sally was listed as an administrator because instead of the shelter manager, she's the office manager and she is an administrator, she then could make changes to all of these. But if they're not an administrator, they can't make any changes to the profile itself or add anybody to trainings or do anything to any other profile except themselves. Does that answer the question?
Yes, they said thanks so much.
Okay, great. And this is a lot, and I think I went way too fast. So if you have any questions after this, be sure and send me an email, or if you go through this training again when we have it uploaded online, then feel free to send us an email, send me an email. So now I'm going to turn it over to Maria to go to the next section, and I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop sharing.
Thanks, Kathy. And for that, just really quickly, that's going to be what's really important, that you make sure you have your own account to be able to register for trainings, which is what Sierra's going to start us with here in just a bit. But you'll want to make sure that your system administrator, whoever that is, your executive director or your office manager, like Kathy was telling us, that they have added you to that list, because otherwise you won't be able to access the member only resources on Coalition Manager. So you'll want to make sure you have that. And so, yeah.
Maria, now, and if when you're added, you'll get that email from Coalition Manager that asks you to approve your email. And I can't stress enough how many times, I can almost guarantee it's going to go to your spam or your junk mail first. So just watch for it there.
Thanks, Kathy.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Maria and Kathy. So just wanted to move through some of this information, and some of this may not be news to all of you, especially because you were able to register for this webinar, and I'm sure you've registered for other events that CCASA is hosting. So just wanted to bring some attention to some of these. So the first thing, like, how are we going to know when an event is happening. So the first way you might get notified is if you are subscribed to receive CCASA's newsletter. You may receive something that looks like this, an email. So you might get this in your inbox, the CCASA connection. And then as an example here, we're seeing June's CCASA connection. So you'll see a list of all of the summits, all of the events, the trainings, webinars, and then you can register right from that newsletter. If you are not subscribed to the newsletter and you would like to be, you can go to our website, and right at the top, as we're seeing here, it says join our newsletter. You're going to fill out your information and then you'll be added and then you'll receive the newsletter. And there's a lot more in there than just our trainings, but that's one way to get connected. You can go to the next slide, Maria. So another way to know what's going on training wise, and you probably have received this leading up to this webinar, you'll receive a number of different email notifications. So if we have a specific webinar or training, right? So for the Restorative Justice Summit, for Kaya, different things like that, you probably would have received a notification like this. And if you would like to receive them more regularly, really any ones that are coming up, feel free to send me an email, sierra@ccasa.org. I'll put it in the chat again. But that way you can get notification. And again, at the bottom, you can see click here to register. You can register through your inbox as well. Thank you for that, Maria. So we have our newsletter, we have our email notifications, and then you can go to the next one, Maria. And then through our website. So there's a couple different ways that you can do that. Maria, if you will go ahead and just flip over to our website. So now we are going to switch gears and head on over to CCASA's website. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can do this. So the first one is, if you'll just scroll to the bottom, Maria, and some of you may have already seen this, but at the very bottom of our homepage, you will see trainings and events. So that's going to be another way to see what's going on. But if for some reason, once you click on there, you can actually see, again, the event that comes up. It shows you the registration link, and you can do it that way. If you're feeling like I'm not really wanting to scroll, I just want to get there pretty quick, you can go to the top toolbars up here, right? So underneath Get Involved, you can click Events, and that will bring you to the page as well. Okay, so you can see bigger scale what's going on maybe for the year. And if we have those events up, you can start registering for those as well. So a couple different ways you can be notified about what's going on at CCASA. Again, being part of the subscription list for our newsletter. Again, you can see that right at the top there. Feel free to reach out to us if you want to get this information. We definitely want you all to be informed. So those are a couple of different ways that you can register or find where you register for our events. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Maria, who's going to walk us through
registering.
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Sierra. So you can also, a different way to find events that are coming up are on your dashboard. So you would log in, you're the Best Advocate Agency, you're logged into your own personal account. And you can see up on the dashboard at the homepage, any upcoming training events that are coming up, right? So I just refreshed, you no longer see the information for this webinar. So that's always actively refreshing about what's available to register for and what's not available. So you can also see that we have available online trainings. As of right now, the only thing that lives there is the SATI training, the 30-hour SATI training, but pretty soon that's where we'll have all of our different modules that were available before, in terms of if you don't have time or you don't need to do SATI the entire 30 hours, but you're interested in brushing up on, say, the LGBTQIA+ community. There will be a module just for that. Or maybe you're wanting to refresh your key advocacy skills. There will be a model just for that, or a module, excuse me. So this is where you'll be able to find those online trainings. Those will not have a date of like registration date. You can register at any time for those, and there is no limit to you finishing it. So if you register today, that doesn't mean that you only have a month to finish it, right? So like say, for example, you were interested in next month's webinar. You would come to this dashboard, or like Sarah said, you could click directly from any of those other options. It'll take you directly to this link that will be popping up. You can also click register from there, and you'll see at the top the event date and the time. And then you'll be able to, whoever you're logged in as, this is, I think, what's really cool about having this Coalition Manager Direct staff profile is that it'll fill it in for you. You won't have to do very much, right? So everything that you've added about yourself will be here, right? There's already the agency member. I'm Bella, or maybe, you know, if I'm registering my staff member, I can register Ruth the Queen Ginsburg. And then it'll change all of the contact information there too. The only thing really here that you would have to adjust, so here we don't have a street address for Ruth. We could, you know, input that. If you're needing accommodation, so the accommodations that are being offered for this webinar are interpreting needs or closed captioning. So say I want interpreting needs, then I would type in here, I need Spanish interpretation, or maybe I need ASL interpretation, right? So then you would click save. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We'll erase it later. Oh, Ruth. That's your ad. So we need to confirm, turns out. And it'll tell you here at the bottom, Kathy, you saw Kathy doing this too. It'll tell you at the bottom what the issue is, and it'll also tell you right under what information is missing, if there's anything missing before you can save the information. So I'm gonna go ahead and save that. And then it'll tell you you're confirmed for this registration. You can go back to your dashboard. At this point, you will be receiving an email as well, an email confirmation, giving you a little bit more details about what to do. Generally, for something like this, you'll also be getting a Zoom. If it's a virtual event, you'll be getting an email from Zoom that will be coming to your inbox. Again, maybe check your spam. Sometimes it goes there. And then that's what you can use to come on to the webinar, which is probably what you did here. But the best benefit of having that, so for like something like webinars, it's open to everybody, so you don't have to have an account with Coalition Manager to access it. But again, the benefit is you don't have to fill anything out except for your interpretation needs at that point. So it makes registration really easy for you as a member. It also gives you access to those resources that are member only, right? So this available training, because Best Advocacy Services or the Best Advocacy Agency is a member, the available online training is here. If somebody isn't a member, that wouldn't be available to them, right? So that's another benefit to that. Now, you can also, in this training section, you can add non-CICASA trainings, right? So if you want to keep track of, you know what, I needed to do some additional training on the VRA every year because of our grant. So you can add that, right? So this is a list that CICASA didn't put on. If you would have access to all of the trainings that you've done with CICASA, and your supervisor would have that, so it would be keeping track of that once you attend. But then you can also add new, and say you did that VRA training, right? So it's a, I have the option of doing sexual assault. Is it sexual assault specific? Is it Victim Rights Act, or is it other? So let's say we did a Victim Rights Act training. So maybe we did a 2022 VRA update, which I did last week or this week, by the way. And say it was Monday from 11 to 12. And I did that training for 1 hour, and it was Rocky Mountain I love it how when you're speaking, you can't type. You can't spell. Rocky Mountain Victim Law Center. And then you would do a quick description. RMVLC presented on the new updates to VRA from last session. And then you would click save. And then now you have a running list of your trainings. So this is another really cool option. This really isn't for us at CICASA. This is for you. This is one of the benefits for you and your agency that you could use to, again, keep track of what training are you doing, because sometimes we lose certificates, or sometimes we just want to notify our managers that we did this specific training, so you can keep it all together here. The other thing that we want to show you about what would be very useful for y'all would be this resource manager. So CICASA has a variety of brochures, booklets that you have access to. All of them are available to download. Well, most of them are available to download, but so that you can view them on this site, right? So you may be familiar, and Sierra will talk to you a little bit more about this in just a second, but you might be familiar with being able to order it on our website. Here, you don't even have to order, right? So you would go to your resource manager tab, you would click dashboard, and you could either view all resources. So the CICASA board resources really are about the things that are public that you might want to know about CICASA, right? So you might want to know what our bylaws are as a member. You might want to know what the strategic plan is. These two are available for everyone to see, that you could do a quick view. So for example, I don't want to download it. I just kind of want it to pop up and look through. Or you can download some of the specific things, right? So some things will not be available for download. For example, it will tell you here that the bylaws are not available for download, but the strategic plan is. So you could download from here. You can also search, right? This one I think will only search within this category. So if you go back to your dashboard, you can go to CICASA publications, which I think is probably going to be most useful to you all, right? So then you have a list of all of the things that are available. You can download or quick view a forensic compliance in Colorado. You can download the PREA toolkit and have that available, right? Something that isn't available for download are things like our crisis line training on this website, but you can download that from what Sierra is going to talk to you about here in just a second. But these are all the resources. These toolkits are for advocates or people in the field, right? So they're geared towards you. And then the brochures and handbooks, they are geared so that you can give them to members. So you can provide this information to your to survivors, to participants, right? And again, you can do a quick view, you can do a download of most of these. That way you don't have to go through a whole other process. That's all available to you here. Any questions about signing up for trainings or access to the CICASA brochures and toolkits? Awesome. And feel free, you might still be typing, but at this point, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Sierra again to walk us through how to order some of these if you wanted to have them available for survivors.
Yeah, so like Maria mentioned, if you are typing questions, feel free to do so in the chat. We will make note of them. I did want to take a second just to go over, as Maria mentioned, right? Like if you're within Coalition Manager, really great, right? Because you can do this navigating within that platform. But if for some reason, right, you're wanting to go through our website, you're wanting to access some other things, like as Maria mentioned, for example, the manual, right? Like maybe that's something that's not available there, right? So if you go to our website, which Maria has pulled up here, the way to do that is, so you're going to go to the top of your screen and you're going to choose member resources, and then you're going to click on that CICASA publications tab right there. And once you get that, this is going to look a little familiar to what we just saw that was housed within Coalition Manager, right? So once you do that, you'll go in here and let's say, for example, we want to get the PRIA brochure. So you can, again, select what it is that you would like. And at the bottom here, it's going to ask you a language and the media type. So you're going to want to choose the language. Now, media type is specific to, do you want a downloadable copy or do you want a hard copy? So once you do that, you're going to choose and then you'll add it to your cart. So let's say you have a bunch of different things that you have added to your cart now at this point. And then once you want to check out of your cart, if you are a CICASA member, it's going to ask you specifically for a code. If you need the code and you're a member of CICASA, send me an email and I will send you the code. So yes, see right at the bottom there, exactly, it says apply code. Once you do that, you can then proceed to check out. And again, these resources are available to members. If you're a non-member, obviously you would be paying whatever that price is there for that specific publication. So that's a little bit about how you can access, again, some of those similar publications through our website. No problem. Thank you for joining us. I'm just taking a look in the chat. Okay, so that's a little bit about resources that are CICASA specific. Now, I did want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about our You Have the Right website. So this is a website that also offers additional resources, right? So it was referenced earlier. Kathy was talking about the services, how to find different resources within specific areas, right? So another, more things are offered there, so resources. So thank you, Maria. So if you go to the top of this website, you're going to click on For Professionals, and then you're going to go to Order Promotional Items. And then that is going to bring you to the page of all of the You Have the Right campaign, what we have to offer. So we offer coasters, pens, buttons, posters in English and in Spanish. So if you're wanting to receive this information, you can. And again, very similar to what we just went through, you're going to add it to the cart. Now, I do want to make a note here that we ship these publications and products to individuals in Colorado specifically. It is free to anyone who is in Colorado. So another really great resource. We did just get a lot of those coasters in and they have been very popular. So if you are interested in coasters, you might want to get on that because a lot of people are ordering those. So we wanted to take this opportunity while we're talking about other resources for all of you. And again, not just for members, but for anyone within Colorado. We want you to know that you have access to that through the You Have the Right website as well. So really great material there. Thank you, Maria, for walking us through that. Does anyone have any questions? I know that we've shared a couple different platforms, the different things in Coalition Manager. Again, really the biggest thing that we want to preface is clearly you can access these in a number of different ways. So find whatever works for you, find whatever works best for your agency. You know, get in there and start looking through some things and seeing what you think is really important for us to know. So if you have any questions, feel free again to type them in the chat here. I do want to ask you all, I'm going to share the evaluation link in here as you all might be thinking of some questions. And I think we're going to try to launch a poll. Kathy or Maria, can you see the poll?
No.
Okay, no worries. So I'm going to go ahead and put the evaluation in the chat. The poll question that we were going to ask is in the evaluation. So if all of you will just share that with us. I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, but is there anything else, Kathy or Maria, that you wanted to share with everyone? I know this was a quick virtual tour here, but we would love to hear from any of you or Kathy or Maria.
Yeah, reach out to us. We put our email addresses in the PDF that you'll be receiving later, and some in the chat. Sometimes Coalition Manager can be frustrating and can give you a headache. Sometimes you're like, wait, this isn't working the way that I thought it was going to work. So feel free, please, at any point to reach out to us for help in navigating the website. So for anything related to membership, to all of the things that Kathy shared with you at the beginning about, inputting information or adding to staff list or things like that, reach out to Kathy. Anything related to training, accessing training, registering for training, looking for training, reach out primarily to Sierra, but you can also reach out to me, or Sierra and I will work together to get your to get your issue worked out. So please, please, please reach out to us. We're happy to help. We want this to be a benefit for you, not just for us. So thank you for being here.
And it really, the system, we find it helpful. We do find it frustrating sometimes because it's still, they rolled out 2.0 and it had a lot of bugs that we're finding, but they are working through them. So if you find it doesn't work, sometimes you're trying to add a phone number and it's not working and you're doing everything right. You probably are, and you come back next time and it's working. So don't get frustrated with it, but reach out to any one of us anytime and we can help you with it. And don't get frustrated, contact us and we'll get frustrated and we'll throw it up to them.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Help us, help them, help all of us, because we know that it can be a little tricky. So we appreciate all of you. If you think of any questions that you have, feel free to reach out to us. I did go ahead and put the evaluation in the chat. We would love to hear from all of you. As Maria shared earlier, we do really value your feedback and adjust presentations and information based on what you share with us. We are also interested. We know that Coalition Manager is a huge platform and there's a lot of things that you can be doing in Coalition Manager that we haven't really talked about in this training. So if you are interested in those things, or if you have questions about those, or you would like to see a future webinar that's specific to what you're looking for within Coalition Manager, please fill out the evaluation and let us know. We definitely want to spend time on the things that you feel are important. So fill that out and let us know. We would love to hear that. Again, any questions you have, please reach out and I will be sending a follow-up email again with all of the slides, all of the screenshots. So as you look through that, if you're having more questions or want to revisit something, please send us an email. We would love to do that for all of you. And other than that, thank you all so much for being here with us today. Again, feel free to type any other questions you might have in the chat. If not, we hope that you have a really great day and we will see you all next time. Thank you. And take care of yourselves out there.
Yeah, do some self-care. Bye, everyone.
Bye, thank you.